What up? This is Myron, and you are listening to the Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast, the Down on the Docks on the other side of the tracks, dive bar style podcast of and about the Seattle Mariners. And you're either getting this wherever you get your podcasts at or checking us out here right on the YouTube. All right, so Cal Raleigh went on the flagship station this morning. If you're seeing this morning, or he went on there yesterday and he changed the course, changed the narrative that everybody's been talking because Brock and Salk got it out of him. The revolution has begun. All right, maybe it hasn't. Maybe nothing really happened too much, but we're here. We're reacting to it. By we, I'm talking about me and Hanno. We're talking about what happened in that interview, what people were saying, what people were hoping he was going to say, and talking a bit about Cal Raleigh and his contract going forward, and for the other people in the other side of this young core that are in their arbitrational years, talking about George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, and Cal. That's our other half of our three of the core, along with JP, Julio, and what's the guy's name? Oh yeah, Cal Raleigh, who we're talking about. Anyways, I'm going to shut the hell up, and we're going to get right into this right after this.
Get ready to play hardball in the Kingdom.
Take me to the ball game. I want to see the Ants. The Mariners are playing hardball. Did it again and again and again. Did it again.
Princess Tours, the vacation company, brings you the best show in baseball when the San Diego Chicken plays hardball with the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles tonight in the Kingdom.
So, Hanno, usually we are accustomed to a Thursday spot to listen to on the flagship from Jerry DiPoto. We're going deconstructing the DiPoto show, trying to sift through, as you say, the script that 710 Seattle, script that the Mariners give to 710 to be the mouthpiece. Today, though, they had Cal Raleigh on there, the Brock and Salk show, your favorite show in all of radio. They had Cal Raleigh this morning.
Yeah, I got a chance to listen to it. It wasn't anything that surprised me. I mean, I wasn't looking for Cal to come off like his last interview where he teed off on the team, you know. I don't know if people were looking for that or that kind of reaction after what has kind of gone down in the trades and all that, but I just didn't see that coming that way. I mean, I understand where Cal came from in the very beginning on that first interview, or first interview when after the game. I mean, it's a totally different scenario. He's in the offseason now, and you know, coming out of the game and the heat of the battle and getting eliminated from the playoffs right after, you know, having a microphone shoved in your face. I mean, it's just a whole totally different thing.
Yeah. I mean, today they were talking to him on a golf course, probably in Florida, relaxing, maybe 3 hours ahead. Maybe he's had pina colada. There's nothing to be upset about. I think fans were wanting him to come on, you know, delusions of grandeur of him being like, you know what? They need to get some money together and they need to get us these players. And that didn't happen, nor did I expect that to happen. But, you know, Mariners Twitter, Mariners trollers, that's what they wanted to hear. That was their wet dream.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, why people feel that way, though. It's been, you know, a couple decades with one playoff appearance. We mention it all the time. They've had a plan. The plan seemed to be working and going to plan. And they veered away from that plan a little bit last year. And then this year they take a step back and say that they're not going to be expanding the money for the team, the salaries, but that doesn't mean everything end all be all either. So it I just felt like I wish they were farther along in their whole process because, God, they were 2 years ago, you know, they were right neck and neck with the eventual World Series champion, Houston Astros. But yeah, it's enough looking back and forth and going over the same thing over and over. But
yeah, I mean,
it's just,
this episode is, there was really nothing there, to be honest. For me, it was just kind of like, if you were looking, I guess what I'm trying to say is their segment with Cal, if you were looking for the big fireworks, if you were getting something that was like, hey, look what Cal said, and trying to get part 2 or a carryover or a spin-off of what he said in the dugout right after they were eliminated from the game, you didn't get it. And that's fine. I didn't think you were going to get it. And what we're getting out of this is, what a great leader. He's a leader, and he's a leader. And when asked, hey, do you think you're a leader or the leader of the clubhouse? And he smartly said, hey, there's a lot of leaders in that clubhouse.
yeah, I mean, we've talked before during last season about the leadership, and, JP was obviously mentioned, but I have always felt that Cal is one of the leaders, if not the leader. Just the way, he carries himself. He is the catcher. He sees the game from that perspective. And, JP hadn't really developed into one of the better players until last year on the roster. I mean, you can still be a leader and not be the best player, but it's easier to be a leader when you're doing good. So I just agree. I think him and JP are the leaders.
Yeah, and I feel like it was an interesting choice to have Cal Raleigh on right now at this point. I wonder what the motivation or agenda behind 710 was to do that. I don't know if it's just a random, we're going to talk to a Mariner at this time of the year. It seems like that would be something more so you would talk to them in January or early February.
That's a good point. I didn't even look at it or think of it in that aspect. Yeah. Yeah, if you would have a player on at this time of year, you would ask them about their summer and, are they getting ready for training and all that stuff? And they did answer those questions. And I enjoyed the question where they asked him, do you guys as teammates talk about it, the moves that are being made? And he says, of course, I mean, anybody would. I would have been interested to hear if they would. I wish they would have asked him if he talked to any of the guys that got traded, JK, Gino, or Marco. I mean, he wouldn't have said much, he would have just said, yeah, I talked to him. But put yourself in Cal's shoes. He's not going to open up about private conversations, but he's honest. Of course their teammates talk about what's going on.
And look, to be fair, Brock and Salk aren't going to ask him that either.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
they know what to ask and what not to ask. I would have really liked to maybe Cal come on here and we could talk to him and ask him about that, because yeah, of course he's going to talk to JK. I mean, they grew up in this organization together, and Jared coined him the Big Dumper, gave him the nickname. They're obviously close. They're both guys that went up and down from Tacoma and Seattle for a bit. I'm sure he wasn't happy about it. We know that Jared, that's a whole nother podcast. I mean, Happy Jared is going to Atlanta. Check out our Happy Jared segment that we will have here on the YouTube channel. Anything else that you have to say about Cal in this interview?
No, it's a basic off-season interview.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. But when you said, "Oh, I didn't know that people were anticipating," you can go on social media and we could read some of that right now. What people were, let's see. Let's just go to this. Let's go to your favorite reporter. I mean, your favorite host. I hope they can see the sarcasm in my voice when, like this. You go, Brock MVP, HIM Brock MVP, HIMDY. You'll be able to hear his disappointment in the front office without him saying anything. Not sure we could get that. Maybe there when he asked him, he was just kind of like, it is what it is. That's kind of the vibe I got from him.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard Cal earlier in the offseason on Foul Territory do an interview with those guys, and they're a little bit, they're not kind of like the flagship where they just let her rip and ask him what he thinks about Jerry DePoto's comments and the 54% and all that, and kind of go, don't beat around the bush and just ask the question. And he just answered, hey, and he's going to have to answer that for himself. It's not up to me, So, I mean, it's all in the questions too. And Cal has gone through that, and the flagship is just different. And I'm not saying that they're a cupcake or anything. I'm just saying Cal has done enough interviews with the offseason that the Mariners have had, the press conference at the end. He's well versed on what to say now,
Look at this is Stanton when Cal is asked about his thoughts, and it's the meme. It's the meme of Ben Stiller from Billy Madison doing the throat slash, and he's the orderly in Billy Madison. That one's pretty good. Let's see. During the interview, 0 questions of substance so far. Have you not asked about reduction of payroll? Hello, that was from Ronaldo Botticelli, the alpha male. Let's see what else. Gonna ask questions tougher. Gonna ask questions tough. What's this? Gonna ask Cal tougher question than you've ever asked Jerry. Here's another one. Here's one from 23 hours ago prior to the so this is last night. Oh man, that's gonna be good. Another person said this is 100% juicy. This is gonna be good. Here's another one. Ask him what franchises he respects most in the MLB. Here we go. Cal wishing for a transfer portal. Oh, man. Someone else thought prior to this, Mike's going to try to bait him into reactionary comments the entire interview. It feels like a lose-lose, honestly. I think Mike they kind of stayed away from it a bit there in that interview until the very end. And here's the other ones too. Not good when the guy who called out ownership is the first one to speak. So there was a lot of this. And then if you go on to Reddit, it's even worse. Yeah, here's a good one if you're watching on YouTube. Angry Erlos puts Brock and Salk practicing for their questions, and it's a gif of a softball being pitched.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny and stuff, and maybe that it just the interview and it just what are you gonna grill him on? Hey, Cal, are you as mad as you were right after getting eliminated from the playoffs as you are now with the Mariners not doing payroll? You asked and said that Texas goes out and gets players, and what happens? They wind up in the World Series. Are you still asking for that? You know what I mean?
Right. Someone else chimed in saying the Mariners sure shut up Cal. Again, what's he supposed to say? Are you trying to get Cal in trouble? Says another person. Another person, ask him if he believes that ownership will do whatever it takes to make this a contender. We all know his answer, but do it for us.
If that question was asked, I believe Cal would say what he said earlier in a similar question. He would say, hey, that's up to them, and I'm part of this team, and it's part of being part of this team is to make sure as us as players that we're prepared and ready, and it's not for us to worry about. I mean, but obviously he feels that, if they had some all-stars, it makes it easier for sure.
Yeah, and here's one when they first announced it. This is what I think the fan base's feeling was last night. before when they heard this news. They were like, hopefully, this is from Dinkin Flicka. Hopefully at Life Cougs. Hopefully we get an unhinged Cal that rips into this poverty franchise like it deserves.
Absolutely. We're out for blood.
I feel like the person, if you were going to get any answers from, there's only one person that really has those answers, and that's John Stanton. And we've put out, a short video on the YouTube Shorts and Instagram and TikTok. That's right, we're on TikTok.
It'd be nice if the ownership just put out some reassuring words like, don't worry, we're going to spend some money, probably not as much as you guys thought. Silence is just like have people guessing.
I mean, we could have guessed this already, but now I think for the general fan, we know it's not Scott Service's fault and it's not Jerry DePoto's.
I just think it's a culmination of a lot. It's the rebuild, the last year not making any successful moves, the offseason, the comments, the 54%, this last trade that most people in the baseball world thought was just foolish. It was just a salary dump, and the Mariners got nothing in return to equal what they gave up. So I think it's just a lot of frustration in wanting to know, when is this rebuild we've been talking about for 10 years or 8 years or whatever? When's it gonna happen?
He's the guy that they need to get on the radio. He's the one that needs to say something. And I think Ninja, when he was on here, put it best where he just should come on and say, hey, we thought we were going to spend more money. We're not. Here's why. Here's what we're going to do. Blah, blah, blah. We know it's not going to happen. If it were to happen, it would have happened already, is my feeling.
Yeah, there's not really a position for him to change the narrative or win the interview to change people's opinions no matter what. It's a lose-lose situation probably. But I agree with you. It'd be nice to hear him explain that. But then again, I go back to this Mariner ownership group and front office. They say a lot of things. And so what can you really take their word for?
Supercross this weekend in the Kingdom. The Coors Beer Supercross doubleheader. Get ready, Seattle, this Saturday night at 7:30 and Sunday afternoon at 2. The 1988 ANA Supercross Tour. Motorcycle Mania on an incredible dirt battleground that treats man and machine the same way. With absolutely no respect. See the best. National champion Jeff Ward. Former champion Ricky Johnson. Tickets at all Ticketmaster locations, including the Bond, Tower Records and Video, and participating Honda dealers. The Coors Beer Supercross.
The narrative, it seems like everybody keeps saying, like, he's as good as gone. He's as good as gone. And I don't understand when people are saying that. Can you explain that more to me? Because as far as me looking up his contract that he's on, he still has a few years. Yes, he's going to have arbitration. Is it because he's a Boris guy? Why is that kind of something that people say?
I just think that one, it has to do with the comments he made after in the clubhouse after being eliminated last year. His frustration. You mentioned Boris. That's another thing. And he didn't say it now, and he said the correct answer. It's not up to him. It's up to ownership and management to put the team together, and it's up to him and the rest of his teammates to be in the best shape and be as well prepared as they can for the season. And it's on the players too. And he's right. And, but Scott Boras has come out and said comments about the Mariner organization not being serious about winning. That's the narrative with a lot of Mariner fans. And it's kind of, they don't spend the money. They're cheap, blah, blah, blah. So I think you just kind of start putting two and two together, and it just kind of makes a little sense. Cal's a winner. You can tell that by the way he plays, the drive that he has, the competitiveness, the frustration. You can see when he some of his mannerisms during the game, And then him speaking out, like I mentioned in the dugout, I mean, that's a big deal. So that's kind of where I think it comes from.
Well, as you can see right here on the screen, we are looking at Cal Raleigh's current contract that he's on. This is his last pre-arbitration year. This is the last year you're getting him at a big discount. Then 25, 26, 27 are his 3 arbitrational years. So, I mean, if I get it, and after 2027, he's either going to walk or you're going to trade him in 27. So when people talk about he's as good as gone, that's a lot of time. And let's just even say arbitration too. He's not going to get to his first arbitration and be gone. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, it's been well documented about players who've spoke out too. Cal has spoken out, and I think that's a reason too. You know, he could be traded. It seems to happen quite a bit with players that speak out, going back into the 90s with Jeff Nelson, and then players recently, Paul Sewald, that spoke out. So, I mean, there is a coincidence or lack thereof a coincidence in moves that happen to guys that speak out. You talked about losing Cal. I certainly don't want to. I think he's a gift. Switch hitting catcher that calls a good game, can block. He does it all, you know, and does it for 150 games behind the plate, it seems like.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering why people always say, hey, well, he's good as gone. You see that. You see that all the time online. You see that all the time in social media. And it's like, he's not going to go anywhere. I don't think this is a guy that you got to worry about going anywhere in 2 or 3 years. And if you are worried about him going in 2 or 3 years, then you're kind of contradicting yourself about this next season. And when you're saying, well, I don't want to think about 2 or 3 years down the road. I want to think about just this season. And as far as him being here this season, he's here. I don't see, and we can save this recording, I don't see the Mariners trading Cal if things go south this season, which they very well can if they don't get more offense. But I feel like he's safe being here. I think Cal is one of those important pillars to the Mariners going forward and to the legacy of the team.
I just going to say, I feel like, and we've talked about it before, he's one of the untouchables on the team with Julio and him. But then again, you know, this ownership has changed their tune on a lot of things. And I've told you before, it's always a trust thing. So I don't know. Could it happen? Couldn't it happen? I will never say no with anything the way this team operates.
And again, there's more of this. If I don't see him sticking around, I don't blame him if he leaves. And it's like he can't leave. He can't leave. The Mariners have to trade him. So there's no leaving. There's no Cal leaving until after the 2027 season.
Well, he can demand a trade.
He can demand a trade.
Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but he could demand one.
Absolutely. Do you see him demanding a trade? Let me ask you. Let me put you on the hot seat here, Hannah. Do you see him right now demanding a trade in the next 3 years?
I don't know, but it would not surprise me. And let's say in a few year, 2 or 3 from today, it would not surprise me. No.
So if we're still doing this podcast in 3 years here on the Great Odyssey, because that's where we'll be in 3 years, right? We'll still be doing this podcast for Odyssey.
I don't know where I'm going to be in 30 minutes.
Okay. Well, I know in 3 years I'll be right here on Odyssey. I'm wondering if we can pull this clip up and you're like, I'm going to say Cal Raleigh ain't going anywhere. I'm going to say he's going to be one of the Mariners. I think that you're going to see get a contract faster than maybe some of the pitchers, maybe some of the other players that you're expecting. I feel like after George Kirby, I think Cal Raleigh is probably the next person that the Mariners, out of the core guys, tries to lock up. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I could see that too, no doubt. I mean, he's a top 5 catcher probably in the league. Hopefully take that next step this year, be an all-star, and just keep grinding and taking steps forward every single year. He's only had, well, last year was his first full season in the bigs, correct?
Yeah, in 22 he got sent down, came back up, had the best return I've can ever remember of any Mariner. He had like a Mike Trout coming back from the minors, kind of ripping back into the major leagues, because a lot of people know this. Mike Trout, I live down here in Southern California. I remember he got sent down to the minors, came back up, never turned back. That's what Cal Raleigh's 2022 return felt like. And
so his career is just getting going. I mean, he's a baby in the league now, first full season, and God, he's shown a lot. And he's a good player. It's someone I want to keep around. I mean, we've seen our catchers, who they've been, the Miguel Olivos, since, probably the most famous catcher in Mariner history, Dan Wilson, left, so it's not an easy position to fill that has the skill of Cal that can do it from both sides of the plate and both sides of the ball. So whenever he becomes a free agent or his contract, he's going to be a well-paid player.
Hey now!
And then my other question here about Cal is, we talked about the window with a lot of these guys in their pre-arbitration or early arbitration seasons here coming up. You got Cal Raleigh. You got George Kirby. And you got Logan Gilbert. I think we can all agree those are the 3 Mariners that they need to sign, or that's the other half of the core with Julio, JP, and Cal. I would say that's the core 6 guys. When you talk about this is the core of the Mariners, would you say it's those 6?
Yeah.
Can we agree on that? We're looking at Cal. We're looking at Kirby, who have one more pre-arbitrational year. And we got Gilbert. Gilbert is the only person out of these 3 that is in an arbitrational season. Estimated he's going to be making about $5 million this year. And Cal and Kirby have one more year until they hit that arbitration. Out of these 3 people, which person right now, just hypothetically, do you see the Mariners moving on from and getting something? And which 2 do you think are going to get those contracts, or do you think it's less than that?
I personally, I hope all 3 of them stick around. The Mariners can afford them, and they've developed them, and that's what you ask for is an organization to develop your homegrown guys, and hopefully they turn out to be great players where they deserve to be paid. And the Mariners, you would think, can afford that, but that's another story. I would assume that Kirby has the higher ceiling probably, but Logan's been working on some other pitches as well. I mean, these guys are just such babies, only playing, 1 full season, 1.5 full seasons, or 2 full seasons, and they're just so early on in their career. It's kind of unfair to think about already, but it just seems to me if they had to make a choice, they would probably, I think, would part with Logan first.
Because of the 1 year ahead in the arbitrational.
Yeah. I mean, he could be getting paid. I've heard upwards of, not this upcoming year. He has another good year. He can be in the high teens as far as salary and arbitration, I've read.
I agree. If I was seeing one person that would have to go, and by have to go, some big blockbuster trade out of this, it'd definitely be Logan, because he is what he is. You're getting what you're getting. I think there is some ceiling there. You're right. He is developing some other stuff. Wants the ball. He's going to get you lots of innings. He has pitched a lot of innings in the last couple of seasons for the Mariners. As far as Cal and Kirby, I think those are the two that the Mariners are definitely going to lock up. Let's hope that all three of these guys get locked up, like you said. Maybe we even see them start to get locked up this season. If they start getting locked up this season, then do you look back at 2023's offseason, which is not over yet, but do you look back and go, okay, I understand it a little bit more?
I mean, I understand. It doesn't mean I like it, but yeah, I understand it. But you can look at it in another way on the other aspect of it. You could say or make the argument, well, we could trade George Kirby. We could maybe get the most out of him or for him. He has, the highest ceiling and, the less number of years of major league experience, controllable contract, which they, both are. But Kirby started his clock 1 year later than Logan. So you can maybe get more for Kirby. So, I mean, there's all kinds of ways to look at it, but it's hard to say.
Yeah. Well, that's about all the news we have for today. I know there's all kinds of other rumors going on here with possibly heating up a bit with the other young pitchers on the team, Wu, Miller, and Logan kind of gets thrown into that situation, but we're going to let those develop a little bit more. Mariners still have not put their other foot down or any foot down when people are like, I'm waiting for the other foot to land or the other shoe to land. It's like they haven't landed one foot. They're still Neil Armstrong waiting on the ladder to jump onto the moon here. So we'll be back if anything busts or breaks or anything comes out. We'll be here to talk about it, especially up on the YouTube channel. Podcasts usually will go out in the morning. But if you want to if something breaks, head on over to the YouTube. We'll have something waiting for you. Also, this time of year, this is why you want to subscribe. And right now, it's really important to the podcast. If you subscribe, also give us those good ratings. If you like the show, if you don't and you don't care for it, don't tune in. It's all good. There's a lot of Mariners podcasts. There's a lot of places to get out of it. We're just guys, sitting here reacting to this shit. If something happens late at night, trust us, we'll be on here. With that being said, you know what time it is.